Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, we really dig in, try to cut through all that marketing noise, and give you the solid info you need. Today, it's a big one. Longevity, health, this whole, well-being industry. It's massive, complex, and honestly, very, very profitable.
It really is. And like our sources point out, everyone wants to live longer, healthier lives. That's just universal.
Yeah.
So our job today really is to use the material you sent us and build kind of a foundational evidence-based picture of what actually works versus, what's just a trend trying to get your money.
Yeah, the guest in our material actually called it the longevity bubble. That felt spot on. It's like super trendy, sounds great. And the focus itself isn't bad, right? People thinking long term about staying strong, active into their 70s, 80s, that's positive.
That's the good part, definitely.
Hmm.
But the problem is whenever something gets this popular, it gets very profitable. And that unfortunately brings in a lot of, well, the source was blunt, called it bullshit. Stuff hiding under the surface. That's where we need to be critical.
Okay, let's apply that right now. Supplements. Electrolyte powders, fancy hydration mixes everywhere. Do we actually need all that? Are we all walking around depleted?
Well, hydration itself, yes, absolutely fundamental. Can't argue with that. But for the average person, someone not doing, say, intense endurance sports, sweating buckets, often just good old local mineral water does the job perfectly fine. Those colorful electrolyte powders, they're mostly for athletes needing quick, specific mineral replacement. If you're just sipping it at your desk,
Yeah.
probably spending money you don't need to.
Right. And what about those trendy coffees, the ones with mushrooms or adaptogens or like the bulletproof coffee with MCT oil? They're pushed hard as biohacking shortcuts.
Yeah, and when you see those really specific, sometimes kind of obscure ingredients getting mixed into something every day like coffee,
Hmm.
you gotta see it for what it is, a commercial product. They're jumping on trends, adaptogens, special fats because it's a great business model, makes money.
So the immediate test for you, the listener, should just be skepticism. Like if a product is yelling at you with big claims, maybe the ads look a bit weird or badly translated. Pause.
Exactly. Always ask yourself, okay, wait, why do I really think I need this? And then crucially, what's the actual quality here? And how much of that special ingredient is even in it? Sometimes the amount of that expensive mushroom powder is tiny. You're just paying for the marketing in the fancy box.
Okay, let's pivot away from the hype. Let's get into the bedrock stuff, the foundational information, the stuff that's almost too boring and basic to really twist easily with marketing, the three pillars. But wait, before we even get there, we have to tackle what I think was the most maybe controversial statement in the sources, the whole weight loss myth.
Ah, yes. This is so important because the vast, vast majority of people think healthy lifestyle just equals losing weight, full stop. But the expert in our source material makes this really strong point. Weight loss itself is not health.
Okay, that sounds tricky because if someone's obese and they lose weight, their blood pressure improves, their joints feel better, that feels undeniably healthy. How do you square that? How do you tell someone not to focus on the scale when that's their big win?
Right, and that's the confusion. Weight loss is a necessary step for obese individuals to get back to a state where health is possible. But the goal isn't the loss itself. Once you're at a healthy weight range, the real challenge, the actual definition of being healthy, is learning the skill of keeping that weight stable through good food, moving your body, sleeping well, consistently.
I see. So the failure isn't the diet, it's that people don't learn what comes after the diet. There's no exit plan into just normal, healthy living.
Precisely. People jump from unhealthy habits straight into some super restrictive diet. They totally skip over that crucial phase of just learning how to maintain how to live normally, healthily. So when the diet inevitably stops, because most are unsustainable, they just snap back. They haven't built the skills for the baseline. You need to learn the maintenance skill first, almost.
That completely reframes things. Okay, right. Pillar one then, nutrition. If the goal is that sustainable baseline, what are the absolute non-negotiables? The things that don't change every time a new study comes out.
Okay, the bedrock basics. 4 things. 1, calories. You just can't cheat. Physics, thermodynamics, energy in, energy out. That's the absolute base layer. 2, macronutrients. You have to get your head around proteins, carbs, and fats, what they do, the building blocks. 3, fiber. Super important, often gets ignored. Helps you feel full, feeds your gut bacteria, slows down sugar absorption. Really key. And 4, micronutrients, vitamins, minerals. Knowing roughly what things like magnesium or zinc or vitamin D are actually for.
Okay, so if you master those 4 basics, what kind of marketing claims just fall apart immediately? What becomes obvious BS?
Well, anything promising you can ignore calories, for starters. Or diets that completely demonize an entire macronutrient group, like all carbs or all fats. If you understand fiber is essential, you'll immediately question a diet that cuts out all plants. If you know protein is vital for muscle, you won't believe a flimsy shake alone will build serious strength. You see through the oversimplification.
Speaking of restrictive diets, now that we have the basics, let's test them against some extremes mentioned in the sources. How about the carnivore diet?
Right. So, for an otherwise healthy person, the source was pretty clear. Complete nonsense. Why? Because it drastically limits nutrients you only get from plants, especially fiber and certain vitamins and minerals. The only potential use case mentioned was as a very specific experimental approach for some severe autoimmune conditions under guidance. Definitely not a general health strategy.
In the other end of the spectrum, veganism.
Veganism is definitely less restrictive overall, and it can be very healthy. But, and this is important, it significantly increases your risks for certain deficiencies. B12 is the big one. Iron, sometimes getting enough complete protein. It requires careful planning, almost scientific attention to detail to do it well long term.
So if the aim is like optimal health, but also keeping things relatively simple and sustainable, what's the sweet spot according to the source?
Balance, really. The recommendation leans towards aiming for maybe 80, even 90% of your food coming from high-quality, minimally processed plants. Fruits, veggies, legumes, whole grains, that covers your fiber, complex carbs, loads of micronutrients, and then supplementing that foundation with about 10 to 20% high-quality animal products. That helps easily cover essential proteins, certain fats, and those harder-to-get nutrients like B12, zinc, iron, without needing complex spreadsheets.
Got it. Okay, pillar 2, movement. Often when people decide to get healthy, they just start running themselves ragged with cardio. But the source was really strong on this. Strength training is key for longevity.
Absolutely essential. It was called the most longevity thing you can do. That really stuck out. The goal should be 2 or 3 sessions a week, and crucially, with progressively increasing resistance or load. That word progressive is vital. It doesn't mean lifting the same tiny 1 kilogram weights forever. It means challenging your muscles to adapt and get stronger over time. That builds muscle, strengthens bones, improves your whole metabolism.
And it's not just about lifting heavy, it's about how you lift. Quality matters.
Critically important, you need to focus on why you're doing a specific movement. Like, a squat should work your glutes and quads primarily. If you're feeling it all in your lower back, something's wrong. Jumping into high intensity before you nail the technique, that's just asking for injury or putting pointless stress on your body. For beginners, technique always comes before load. Master the movement first.
And the simplest, most basic movement advice for literally everyone: walking.
Yes, just walk more. Sitting for, what, over an hour without moving? Our bodies aren't designed for that. It's unnatural. Walking is the most natural, lowest stress activity we can do, so maximize it. Pace when you're on the phone. Listen to this deep dive while doing a lap around the block. Build it into your day constantly. That steady, low-level movement fights back against being sedentary.
Okay, pillar 3, sleep. The alpha and omega, as it was put. Let's tackle the biggest myth first. The nightcap. The idea that alcohol helps you relax and sleep better.
Yeah, that one needs to die. It's just plain false. Alcohol is a sedative, sure, it might knock you out faster. But look at the data from any sleep tracker. It tanks your sleep quality. Your heart rate stays elevated. Your body temperature goes up. Why? Because your body treats alcohol like a poison it needs to process and get rid of urgently. That whole detoxification effort overrides restorative sleep. You spend way less time in deep sleep and REM sleep, which are crucial for repair and memory.
Okay, so ditch the booze before bed. What actually works? What are the practical things you can do to genuinely improve sleep quality?
It's mostly about environment and routine. Being active during the day, getting some natural light, especially morning light that sets your internal clock, your circadian rhythm. Be really mindful of caffeine timing. For most people, nothing after maybe 3 or 4 p.m. Even if you think you can handle it, it likely affects sleep depth later. And then light hygiene in the evening is huge. Dim the lights an hour or 2 before bed. Avoid bright screens, phone, tablet, TV. Maybe even try those red-tinted glasses. The goal is to reduce stimulating blue light and signal to your nervous system that it's time to wind down and produce melatonin naturally.
Right, so we've got nutrition, movement, sleep. But the sources highlighted something that can undermine all of them: chronic stress, the silent saboteur. What does that actually look like in daily life for the average listener?
Chronic stress basically means your body never gets the signal to truly rest and repair. You're stuck in fight or flight mode. The sympathetic nervous system is constantly switched on, and it often starts literally the second you wake up. That jarring alarm sound, grabbing your phone immediately, scrolling through stressful news or work emails before your feet even hit the floor, that's instant psychological stress. Your body is already on high alert.
And the downstream effect of being constantly on this unsustainable lifestyle. The source connects it directly to the rise in metabolic issues, heart problems, even autoimmune disorders. The body just can't cope with being perpetually under threat.
Exactly. Resources are constantly diverted to immediate survival, not to long-term maintenance, digestion, or immune function. Things start to break down.
So what are some simple, practical ways to deliberately flick that switch, to activate the parasympathetic system, the rest and digest mode?
Create little buffers. Simple things. 1. Maybe try an old cool analog alarm clock. Anything to avoid that immediate phone grab. Give yourself a few minutes. 2. Delay that first coffee. Wait maybe 60, ideally 90 minutes after waking up before introducing that stimulant. Let your natural cortisol rhythm work first. 3. The mealtime sanctuary. This is a big one. When you eat, dedicate 15 minutes. No screens, no work. Just sit and eat, chew slowly. This literally signals to your body it's safe to digest properly. Being deliberately offline for short periods is incredibly powerful.
Okay, let's touch on some of the advanced tools. Tracking devices, rings, watches, they give us data, right? Like showing exactly how badly alcohol messes up your sleep. Useful, but the sources warned about risks too.
Yeah, they're useful tools, but they come with two big potential downsides that can actually make things worse. The first one is obsession. If you find yourself getting genuinely stressed or anxious because you only hit 9,000 steps instead of 10,000, the tracker is backfiring. It's adding to your mental stress load, which defeats the purpose. Health shouldn't feel like a constant test you're failing.
Right, makes sense. And the second risk ties back to pillar 1, to calories.
Yes, calorie overestimation. Fitness trackers are notoriously bad, like wildly inaccurate at estimating how many calories you burn during exercise. They can overestimate by anywhere from 15% to sometimes double. So if you're looking at your watch thinking, great, I burned 500 calories, now I can eat that extra slice of pizza, you're likely sabotaging yourself, especially if weight management is a goal. The advice is, ignore the calorie burn data for eating back calories. Use the tracker for tracking progress, steps, sleep quality, heart rate trends, performance improvements maybe, but not as a license to eat more based on estimated burn.
Okay, and finally the big one in the news. Pharmaceutical options,
Yeah.
GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic, the source called them a brilliant discovery.
And in the right context, they really are. They are a fantastic tool for their intended purpose, treating type 2 diabetes and clinical, medically defined obesity. They work wonders for many people by quieting that constant food noise, the obsessive thoughts about food, and reducing physical hunger cues. That can be absolutely life-changing for someone struggling with severe obesity.
Yeah, the narrative now is often about using them as an easy fix for losing, say, 10 or 15 pounds for cosmetic reasons.
And that's where it gets tricky and potentially dangerous. They are a powerful crutch, but they are absolutely not a replacement for the foundational pillars we talked about. If you don't build the healthy habits, the nutrition, the movement, the sleep management while you're on the medication, the weight will almost certainly come back when you stop taking it. Plus, because you're naturally eating much less, you have to be extra careful to get enough protein, vitamins, and minerals to avoid deficiencies. It requires diligence.
So pulling it all together from these sources, it feels like longevity is this really complex topic tangled up with marketing, but the actual path to better health, once you filter out the noise, is, well, surprisingly simple.
It really boils down to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Disciplined simplicity. If you wanted just 3 things based on everything we've covered that you could start doing literally today for better long-term health. 1, walk more. Just weave it into your day whenever, however. 2, eat real food. Focus on minimally processed stuff. Get enough fiber, get enough protein within that. 3, prioritize strength training. Quality sessions, aiming to get progressively stronger. Building and maintaining muscle is probably the single best metabolic investment you can make over time.
Which brings us nicely to our final thought. The path is simple, as you said, but the source is also stress, and we all know it's incredibly hard to stick with it. Consistency is the killer. We talked about optimization, consistency. It almost sounds like applying business principles to your health.
And maybe that's exactly the mindset shift needed. Think about it like managing a project or a business. You need a clear strategy. You track your key performance indicators, KPIs. Instead of aiming for this impossible 100% perfection, where missing one workout means you quit everything for the week, aim for high compliance. Maybe you define, say, 15 key healthy habits for your week. If you hit 12 of them, even in a really stressful week, that's 80% compliance. That's fantastic. That sustained good enough consistency beats sporadic perfection every single time. Find a system that works for you, track what matters, and stop throwing the whole plan out the window just because you missed one target. That's the real long game.